Free agency starts on Monday with the big story coming out of Cleveland. Browns Pro Bowl defensive end Myles Garrett requesting a trade to a contender. He asked owner Jimmy Haslam for a meeting to discuss it. Daniel Oyefusi reports Haslam turned him down and told Garrett to talk to GM Andrew Berry, who has said that he is not trading him. Hannah?
Jeez. Okay. Senior NFL writer Jeremy Fowler joins us for more. What are you hearing about this Myles Garrett situation?
Yeah, Hannah, sources have continued to tell me that the Browns are very dug in here. They are comfortable being uncomfortable with this situation over the next weeks and months and letting this play out. They have no plans to trade Myles Garrett. They've been clear to everyone on this situation. And in fact, even though there's a lot of interest, some teams have not called or really put together huge trade packages because they know it doesn't make a lot of sense for the Browns right now. Maybe there'll be some posturing or some pre-draft movement, but right now this is a real standoff, and Myles Garrett is trying to do whatever he can to position himself out.
Yeah, 14 sacks last season. This could get ugly at some point. All right, another big name who could be on the move, and that's DK Metcalf. He also wants to join a contender. He has requested a trade out of Seattle. What's the latest there?
Well, Hannah, Seattle is talking to teams about a potential Metcalf trade. It seems that they are open to at least the possibility of exploring this. A new contract for him in the last year of his deal is going to cost probably well over $30 million per year. So teams that are in the receiver market are weighing how much draft compensation do we really have to give up in order to inherit him, who's a great player, but then you have to pay him. I know he's been linked to the Los Angeles Chargers. I do believe they have at least some cursory interest, but that is a draft and develop team. They really don't want to give up a whole lot to have to make that happen. And they're in LA, where a lot of the veteran receivers like Devontae Adams, Keenan Allen, they want to play on the West Coast, so they could maybe go that route in free agency, not give up the draft pick.
Yeah, 48 career touchdown catches, fourth in Seattle history. He could be on the move. So could NFL sack leader Trey Hendrickson. He was granted permission to seek a trade by the Bengals. He wants a new contract. What's going on there?
Probably not going to be in Cincinnati. Cincinnati did try to extend him. They made him an offer on a contract. It just wasn't to what the player thought was commensurate with his skill set and the booming pass rush market. And so really a new team has to take on that new deal and pay him. There will be some interest here. The feeling around the league from teams I've talked to is that they want a first-round pick, but a day two package might suffice, and then they'll take that. So Washington could be at the market for a pass rusher. Atlanta, possibly Philadelphia. There will be many. Then you got Justin Fields there. So I'm told that the Steelers do have interest in bringing Fields back and signing him to be their quarterback next year. There has been some open dialogue on that, but from what I'm hearing right now, he will likely enter free agency on Monday. Hear what other teams have to say. The New York Jets could be a team to watch here, could have some interest in Fields moving forward. Then you have Khalil Mack. So the Chargers, speaking of them earlier, they are really trying to sign Khalil Mack over the next few days. They consider him a core leader to their team, along with Justin Herbert and those type of players. That's how they look at him, so they're going to try to close the gap. But he's got a good market. You got teams like Tampa Bay, Chicago, others that could be involved with Mack, who will seek, money probably somewhere in the high teens, in the millions per year. He's probably considered maybe the best overall player in free agency. It's just an age issue. He's well into his 30s.
Yeah, they already released Joey Bosa. They do have the third most projected cap space in the NFL, let go of a lot of veterans last year also. Jeremy, you're not done. Come on back.
We'll be here for the next week.
Okay, see you in a bit. And Jeremy is going to be back along with Bill Barnwell to give us much more on NFL free agency. What are the best free agents? Ravens offensive tackle Ronnie Stanley tops the list. The former All-Pro could be on the move after 9 seasons in Baltimore. Sam Darnold ranked as his top free agent quarterback after that bounce back year in Minnesota. And new to the party, Joey Bosa rounding out the top 10 after being released just a few days ago. Jeremy Fowler is back with us, joined by senior NFL writer Bill Barnwell. These moves are going to come fast and furious. It will be wild on Monday. I'm like you. I cannot wait for this. Who's going to be really aggressive from the get-go? What are you hearing?
Well, with New England, you saw that list of the top 10 from my guy Matt Bowen. The Patriots are probably going to go after all of those players. Like, they need to fill a lot of holes. They know they're not very good right now. Complete rebuild. So Milton Williams, the defensive tackle out of Philadelphia, I expect that them will be in the mix on him. Left tackle Ronnie Stanley, if he gets available, they could look into that. Definitely offensive line, they're going to try to replenish there. And then they could use the safety help as well, so they could be looking at some of the top options in that market. But I expect the Patriots, with more than $130 million in cap space or around there, are going to be ultra aggressive, in part just because they simply have to be.
Yeah, listen, they have the most cap space in the NFL by a mile, and they have a lot of people they could spend it on. Who do you think is a good fit there, Bill?
Well, let's start with number one, right? Let's start with Ronnie Stanley, the excellent Ravens left tackle, finally healthy last year, had a great season protecting Lamar Jackson's blind side. They got to protect Drake May. He's just been hit too much last year, some of which is his own fault, but some of which is, of course, the offensive line issues. And they get some speed downfield. Darius Slayton was excellent for the Giants, I think, when they used him. Not an offense that really featured the deep passing game. So I sort of wonder if maybe in a different offense with a different kind of player, there might be the opportunity to get more shots downfield. So add some speed and protect Drake May. That's the first two things the Patriots have to do.
Good Lord, Drake May was pressured more than any other quarterback in the NFL on 37% of his dropbacks, more than a third, that poor fella.
All right, yeah, they need somebody to help him out for real. Okay, Jeremy, who else can we expect to make moves early next week?
Well, the Carolina Panthers last year had among the worst defensive personnel in the league. They didn't have a lot of depth, a lot of star players, so I expect them to be aggressive to replenish some spots there. We talked about Milton Williams at defensive tackle. They could be in on him. Safety is a priority for them, so a lot of the top options like Miami's Javon Holland, Las Vegas's Trevon Moehrig, I expect them to be combing that market pretty heavily. So they'll look for depth all over the place on that side of the ball. Could add a wide receiver as well to pair with Xavier Legette and Adam Thielen.
All right, Bill, who in your mind should the Panthers target?
I'm looking towards the edge. I'm looking towards Josh Sweat. Again, what did we just see in the Super Bowl? We saw the Eagles dominate with their pass rush. We saw Josh Sweat be maybe the best player on the field in that game. They have to frown on the interiors, coming back after missing basically all of 2024 with an injury. But adding an edge rusher to Josh Sweat, this is a defense under Ishiro Efero that only wants to rush 4. They want to drop 7 into coverage if they can. Get an edge rusher, hope that you get more from Brown on the interior, and hope that maybe that unlocks some of the secondary, makes life easier for those cornerbacks and those safeties.
Panthers last season dead last in pressure percentage.
Not surprising. Jeremy, one more team. Come on, give us somebody else to keep an eye on. Noon Monday, who's going to be active?
So I got a sneaky spender, the Denver Broncos. So they're out of the Russell Wilson guaranteed money from a couple years ago. They feel like they're a pretty good team. They got a few holes to fill. I expect the Broncos to try to fill them. Linebacker, they'll be looking at that market to potentially add somebody like a Robert Spillane or Jamian Sherwood from the Jets, a good young player. They'll be looking at tight end. Watch for Juwan Johnson, free agent tight end out of New Orleans. He was with Sean Payton when, of course, Payton was in New Orleans. Could be an easy connection there.
Makes a lot of sense in that offense. Bill, who's a good fit for Denver? They're in about the middle of the pack in terms of cap space.
I'll take a big swing. What about DK Metcalf? Not going to happen at the beginning of free agency, maybe, but I think about this Broncos offense, what Sean Payton had in New Orleans. He always had that big receiver to work the middle of the field. He had Marquise Colston, he had Jimmy Graham, had Michael Thomas. They didn't really have that guy last year. Cortland Sutton, in the final year of his deal, is a big player, but not as physical as a DK Metcalf. The Broncos do have Bo Nix for the next 3 years on a rookie deal. So now that Russell Wilson money is coming off of their cap next year, they're going to be in good position to maybe add some pieces around their young quarterback, and getting that big physical receiver who can work the middle of the field, also hit those shots downfield, to me is something this Broncos offense lacks. So if they're willing to take a big swing, DK Metcalf fits them really well.
It'd be cool to see a compliment to Cortland Sutton, too, who had a 1,000-yard season, but nobody else really came close to that on that Denver roster. All right, so Bill has an article on DK Metcalf, the aforementioned, on ESPN.com, so check that out. Thanks, fellas.
Thank you.
Now time.